Hey, welcome back to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. I'm back from the wilderness. Been enjoying my day outside. It's a beautiful summer day, but I found another real good game by Garry Kasparov and a gentleman named Bagan, 1978. Let's take a look at how these two play this game. This is a well done game. He's going to do the Queen Gambit, and he declines it. Pulls up his knight, pulls out his knight. Good stuff so far, yeah. Pulls out his knight, and now he bumps the c5. So, Kasparov draws first blood. He goes ahead and takes the d pawn, and the knight will retake the d pawn. Don't want to get behind with Kasparov if you can help it. Kasparov solidifies his central pawn. Bagan begins his further development. Kasparov says, yes, good idea. Let's get as many pieces into this as we can. Bagan agrees. He says, you have a reputation. I'm going to try like crazy to keep up with you. I am not going to try anything silly, fancy, or footloose. I am going to castle right along with you. So this so far is a very good game. Kasparov draws second blood. Knight d5. Takes the knight in the center. Doesn't fall behind. Takes it with the queen. And of course the queen out there is in the open. Kasparov pushes for a little more central space as well as hitting the queen, of course. The queen will bump right back down. Very interesting so far. So, neither player is playing bad, but Kasparov has the technique. He's just going to systematically continue taking pieces and pawns, but Bagan is going to systematically keep retaking pieces and pawns. This guy's playing pretty good. He doesn't appear to me to be intimidated at all by Kasparov. And then Kasparov, once again, that push for central space. You'll see this in so many, if not all, of the Grandmaster games. These guys want space to function, and they will push it. Yeah? Very interesting. Bishop will come back to e7. So, Bagan has moved his queen out, put his queen back. He's moved his bishop out, although it was to keep material even, and now he's popped the bishop back. Two pieces, two moves. Could that be the difference? We don't know just yet. I doubt it. Bagan is playing very, very good. Kasparov puts another piece into the game. This is superb Kasparov. Knight to b4. He's going to try to come to a skirmish, get rid of his bishop pair. Kasparov says nope. Now, what an interesting move. Put the bishop on b1. Now, the impression I used to get is, holy cow, why? You know, but not anymore, because he really has a tremendous swath toward that castled king. That bishop there is a very well placed, and he's not going to have to worry about losing the bishop pair in this game. Now, another thing, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again and again and again. Look at this board carefully. What do you see? It's somewhat pretty much open, isn't it? There's not a lot of pieces or pawns cluttering up and blocking off the center. So that would lead us to believe, especially with Kasparov, that it's going to be a good board to maintain your bishops. So the bishop to b1 makes very good sense based on this semi-open board. basically it's wide open. At least for Kasparov's bishops. Now, Begin doesn't have his bishops in the game yet, but he does now. They are, at this point, not pointing as dramatically at any specific area of the board as Kasparov's are, though. You see that? Although they are well placed to guard the king at this point. And now Kasparov tickles the knight. He says, well, let's see what you're going to do. The knight powerfully centralizes on a beautiful central outpost. Don't kid yourself. That's a pretty decent looking knight. That's not bad. Queen will come to e4, and here we see Kasparov doing what he did so well for years. He's just begins to systematically weaken his opponent because it's mate next move. So his opponent is virtually forced to defend the h-pawn. Yeah, there's a weakness. Okay, I've given you the hint. If you're Garry Kasparov, what are you going to do next? You want to take full advantage of the weakness around the castled king, of course. The best way to do that is pop that bishop right there on h6. Wow, yeah. Now the rook is threatened, so he's going to bump his rook out of the play. Now this makes sense. Now, hold on. Yes, he's presenting a weakness to his king. However, realistically, there is nothing truly aiming at Kasparov's kingside yet. There's no real... You get the impression, you can see that Kasparov just appears to be better coordinated for an attack with his queen and his bishops than Begin is with any of his pieces. There's not a lot of coordination. He's looking a smidgen passive. He's playing a little bit more defense, and he has weaknesses. So true, pressing that h-pawn, you could say, well, now Kasparov has some weaknesses. However, it's part of his attack. He's going to keep pushing that h-pawn. If you're going to, in this position, if you're going to push that pawn, you're going to use it as a battering ram. So that is an attack piece, and he moves so quickly that Begin doesn't have a chance to not do anything but defend. He really can't attack Kasparov. So that h-pawn move is a good h-pawn move. Queen will come to b6. You've got to connect your rooks, and Begin realizes I've got to get more pieces in here. Truly. So develop your queen to a good square, queen b6, aiming toward the white king, sure. At this point, you bet. Again, you started the attack, keep right on going. Just go full steam ahead. Absolutely, yes, 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 yes. Now, Begin does a pretty good counterattack. Not bad. Hit the queen. However, he can take it en passant, which he does. The beauty of now, we can see him pressing that central pawn forward for more space. Now it can also, notice also again, because of the nature of Kasparov's coordination, his attack appears to be going better. Once more, Begin's king inherits more weaknesses. But watch Begin's wonderful guards of his king. Begin does this pretty slick. This isn't bad. I really liked seeing this. This knight earns his weight in gold. Yeah, take the pawn. The reason why the knight and not the bishop is because it allows you to not gain the initiative so much as just put on a good defense. At this point, it's what Begin needs. So now Kasparov's queen is hit. He bumps her to queen e1, and now the knight again earns his stripes. Eliminates two wonderful attacking pawns, which, yes, they have created weaknesses, but they haven't wreaked havoc. The knight basically saves the day at this point. That is a really good knight. Yeah, knight e5. Here comes Kasparov. Central, that knight is a monster. True, Begin's knight's on the edge at this point, but it's done fantastic defense duty. Therefore, Kasparov sees his knights on this side. Make your knight better than your opponent's. Make your minor pieces stronger than your opponent's. There's no question whose minor pieces are stronger here. The bishops and the knight. The bishops and the knight. And that is the difference in this game. Kasparov's minor pieces are better placed all across the board. And that will make a difference. The other thing Kasparov was so gadfree, he was so masterful, is he accumulated small advantages either through his positioning of his pieces better than his opponents, or by making the opponent make bad moves and have weaknesses. Right? True, his king now has a weakness or two, but there's nothing that can get to him. Not in this light. That's the essential difference at this point. With this fantastic effort on both of them, he's hitting the bishop, so bring the bishop to b5. Ah! He got himself a rook. That's not bad. Did Kasparov overlook this? I'm skeptical for this reason. When your opponent makes a good move, you make a better one. Kasparov makes a better one. Again, just the accumulation of small advantages. There are weaknesses around the king side. Because Kasparov is better coordinated for a direct attack, he can now create more weaknesses through a sacrifice. Really, you know, when you're going to go for a king side, right, you got to expect to sacrifice. Or if your opponent's attacking you, expect him to sacrifice some material. And that is exactly what Kasparov does. Hit the king side again. This time it's overwhelmingly powerful. Blam, man. Take that pawn. No question. Here, rather than moving his rook, which is interesting because Kasparov could get the rook, he brings his knight off the edge. Why? This is just my speculation, but the bishops and the knight are really overwhelming. And to worry about your rook being a guardian of the king, he's not going to be able to guard him as powerful because of the way a rook moves just on straight lines. In this point, in the close quarters, the knight will perhaps be more helpful, so that's what Begin is banking on. Get the knight back in here into the game. Interesting maneuver here that Kasparov does. He's got a great position, truly, Black's kingside is shattered. Now, that's not saying his king is alone, but his kingside shattered. Kasparov isn't going for material as such. A very interesting observation here is to see him play this. Check. Could have had a rook. See, that's one of about 1 trillion reasons why he became so dang good and I haven't, because you know, the rook, man. On the other hand, truly, he could have taken the rook and then that would have activated his other rook. But he would have been the exchange down, that's true. This is elegant, how Kasparov does this. It really is. He went ahead and went check. It's here that Begin did resign, interestingly enough. So the variation that I've seen is, let's say king goes ahead and takes the bishop. Now the queen comes to b1. Notice the slick maneuver of the queen coming over to the side to get that diagonal check. That's great. King comes to king 8, and then the queen up to g6. I mean, ouch. Wow. Now you can see weaknesses everywhere, right? So now you just truly have to try to, is that what he did? Yeah, the rook g8 and now the knight to f7 mate. So that is a wonderful game for me to see the impression of, one, the pieces were coordinated better for an attack of Kasparov. But he didn't really go full blitz out, even though he went full steam ahead. Not much difference. But the accumulation of small advantages, this game is superb for showing us the accumulation of small advantages with a coordinated group of your pieces rather than a defensive maneuver. And notice the queen, who did have a good developing move to try to connect the rooks, the queen never moved off b6, and she never played any influential part in the game. Kasparov did. So lots of interesting differences between the two in this game. So there is your exercise for a Saturday night. In the meantime, remember, be good. Have fun, for crying out loud. Be happy, for Pete's sake. Dream well. Honest to goodness, why not? You may as well. You got to spend all night asleep. Right? Yeah. Better than having nightmares. And be happy. And I will see you in the next Backyard Professor Chess video.